Okay, we are live. We are live. Hello, everyone. Whether you are joining us live or you are catching the replay, thank you for joining me and my guest today, author and intuitive medium, Leah M. Hill. So, my name, for those of you who may not be too familiar with me, my name is Lou Perica, and I am a success mindset mentor. And what I do is I help individuals like yourself harness the power of their mind to achieve remarkable results in both their personal and professional lives by shifting old thoughts to new thoughts and old results to new results. So today I'm very excited to have our guest speaker with us because I am always open to learn more about who we are, how we operate, tapping into our inner voice and the spiritual side of things. So I just want to read a little bio about Leah. So Leah M. Hill is an author, an intuitive medium, energy healing practitioner, a sacred geometry specialist. She is also a Reiki master, certified angel healing practitioner, and a vortex healing energy practitioner. Wow, wow, wow. Leah also connects with angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, and loved ones on the other side to relay messages that help people feel better, live better, and embrace their own truth. Leah also offers private readings, group presentations, and educational workshops. And she also helps those struggling with anxiety and overwhelm, those who are experiencing major life changes and challenges, and those looking to develop their own intuitive abilities, wanting to be free of negative relationship patterns. That's a lot. Well, Leah, welcome. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much, Lou. I'm delighted to be here today. I appreciate your having me.
Oh, absolutely. So you have quite a few certifications and credentials, but today I think we're going to focus mostly on your skills being an intuitive medium, and then we'll probably touch upon being a sacred geometry specialist. And if our audience wants to learn more about your other offerings and upcoming events, we'll be giving out your contact information at the end. Okay?
Great.
How does
Sounds
that
great.
sound?
Yes.
So, whether you joined us today because you're curious about being in touch with maybe past loved ones who have passed over, or you want to know more about that inner voice, Lee is going to share with us both sides today. But I wanted to find out, you know, what what really is an intuitive medium? I think we see them sometimes on TV, but I'm not really quite sure what it is that you see or hear that is different from what I think my intuition is.
Okay, so what I typically think of as an intuitive medium is someone who can connect with the spirit world to get information or understanding that goes beyond our typical five senses that we normally think of, sight and our touch and smell. So it's someone who can connect with those subtle energies, the energies that are all around us that maybe we cannot see with our physical eyes and we can't touch with our hands, but it's still energy that's there. And so, being intuitive, you can use psychic abilities. A lot of people tend to think of as psychic and intuitive as similar or the same thing, and they are similar, but psychic abilities are more like abilities to pick up the energy of a room or of a person, where I consider intuition is going beyond that and connecting with angels, for example, or ascended masters, like you said. And being a medium, I typically think of as our loved ones that are pass on, that are on the other side, that might still be here with us, and we might be able to develop the ability to connect with them on the other side and receive information and understanding from them as well.
So let me ask you, because reading your bio, I was curious, what is the difference, with angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, loved ones. Like, how would we know who's trying to get in touch with us?
That's a great question. So that was something certainly that I had to learn as I was developing my own intuition. It's kind of like, well, there's somebody here, and there's someone, but who are they, and how do I know who they are? So the answer to that, first of all, comes with practice typically, because
Okay. Yeah.
you get used to it. You get the energy of an angel, say for example, is very different from the energy of a loved one who passed on the other side. It's a very different frequency. So some of it is our sense, some of it is from our clairvoyance. If we have that inner sight, that inner vision, that we can actually see an angel form, or the loved one that we know that has passed on. So it takes some practice to be able to discern that. But what I always learn, which is the best, is to ask. Just always ask. Just say, who are you?
Who
Why
are
are
you?
you here? Who are you? Why are you here? What do I need to know now? And those are really great questions to start off with and really start a conversation.
So, how did you know that you were intuitive? How did you know you were a medium, and when did that all start?
Well, for me, it started when I was pretty young. I was a small child. I would see things that other people couldn't see. I would get senses and feelings of certain places, or either in someone else's house or in my house. And I didn't really have anyone to talk to about it when I was, and I didn't understand what was happening either when I was pretty small. But as I got older, into like teenage years, it got a little stronger and a little clearer, and I didn't feel comfortable with it. I shut it down as much as I could until later in my adulthood, where I developed it and opened it and really accepted myself, for
Mhm.
my abilities.
Can you share with us? So, when you say you would walk into a room and you would see something or hear something or smell something, what is that like? Can you describe, like, what would you see? Are they ghost like, or
Oh, that's well. Typically, the way I see, if it's a being like an angel, or even a lot of times a person on the other side, what I see in my mind's eye, the way that you would maybe imagine a red Ferrari, right, or a Porsche. I know you like Porsches.
yes, thank you.
So imagining that perfect car that you want, or that you can see yourself with. So you're using that part of your imagination, and or that part of your inner sight and your visioning. And then what I would do is typically see, instead of a shadow, like a dark shadow, I would see a silhouette, but it's of light instead of the shadow. So where we typically think of as a silhouette as dark, I would see it as light, and then I would see that the outline, the shape, and the form of it. And I also would get, at the same time, hearing. I would get inner hearing. I would hear words. I also get senses. I get the gut feelings, the chills going up and down my spine.
Wow.
I get that too. So I kind of get it all at once.
Wow. So that must have been really challenging growing up. With, like, everywhere, does it happen a lot? Or
Well, it did, like I said, it depends on how open you are to it, and really, right now, now that I'm older and I've learned to manage my abilities, I have filters. I use filters so that I don't get overwhelmed when I'm like out in public or in a meeting, and I don't want everybody's energy. I don't want to feel it and see everything. So that allows me to focus, to get through my day. But I had to do that through learning. I had to learn to do that.
so you're able to turn it off, so to speak, or just say go away for now?
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, you can do that. If I tell people, if there's anything you're not comfortable with, yeah, just tell it to go away. People sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want this feeling, or this, and you don't have to accept it. You can reject it and just say, no, I'll come back when I'm ready. You don't have to address it right away at all.
So, when you have clients that come to you, and you can do this over the phone, correct?
Right, I do it over the phone.
And they say, I keep getting these signs or signals. I think it's from my mother or whomever. Um, are these signs that they receive? Is it sometimes it's just a hello, I'm here? Or could they be signs of that the person who's still here on earth, the physical person, could be a sign of danger, or head this way? This is a better place to do our. Do they serve us that way as
They
well?
can, yes. Typically, I think in the beginning, as I'm working with clients who are developing their own intuition and their own abilities as a medium, they typically do just get like the hello, how are you doing? I'm fine. Even though we might be worried that the person, isn't happy or doesn't want something while they're on the other side. I really don't find that. I find that everyone that I connect with on the other side is fine. They're happy. They're great. Now they have this visual expansion of their energy that they can see and know a lot more than they did in their physical bodies. And then typically as you develop a relationship and have some conversations, you can get some guidance. I call it direction and guidance because spirit can't really tell us what to do. We still have our free will. So we still make our own decisions and we decide if it's something that's best for us or not. But spirit can definitely give us some direction, and we can ask for help and they will be there.
Okay, I just had a thought. So I know when, like my parents have passed quite a while ago, many years ago, and I thought, oh my gosh, can they see everything I'm doing? Right? So can they? Do you know? I don't know.
Um, they can. It's about their focus of their energy. So it's similar to the way that I work when I'm working with a client, right? So I'm if I'm on the phone with someone, my focus, my attention is all on that one person. So that opens up a lot more than I would normally know, in my, like I said, my walking around day.
Sure.
So it allows me, it's more like a direction of focus. And so the way I think of it is that someone on the other side has a more wider view. They might not know everything and they might not know the future. They might not know everything that happened, but if they were to look at it, they probably could get some information or some energy about it. But typically, I just say that it's more like they're there to get whatever the message is to that person. Like I said, the direction or the guidance to the person who's still here.
So do we have to call upon them, so to speak, or do they just try to get to us?
I do believe that, well, it works both ways. So I do know people who have had experiences where their loved one only comes to them in a dream, in the dream time. And that's typically because during their conscious time, though, when the person's out, working and doing their regular daily life, they're not really open.
Sure.
So if you're open to it, you will have more experiences, and that's the way it is. But I do believe that they are around us, and typically they come around when we might have family gatherings or holidays, or a lot of people sense their loved ones on the other side most strongly around the time of their funeral, right? Because everybody's talking about that person. You're
Sure.
going through the photos and you're talking to the relatives and everything, so there's a lot of energy and attention on that person who has passed on, and that's typically a time when we sense or feel their energy as well.
Hmm. Okay, so I know that we all have an inner voice, and we'll get to that kind of intuition after. But do we all have the ability to connect with the for those who have passed on, our loved ones? I mean, can we, as long as we stay quiet and maybe ask questions, will we be able to connect? Or
I believe so. Yes. So the key, though, is to be open to the different ways that you're willing to connect. So, for example, like I said, some people say, I really want to connect with my loved one, but I want messages in dreams because that's where I feel most comfortable. Other people are like, I want to feel their love. I want to feel this person. I want to smell my grandmother's perfume. They're just what I tell people is just be open to all the ways that we receive intuitive signs and intuitive messages, which are, like I said, beyond our physical, our physical ways that we do that. But it's typically being open to a sense. You get that gut feeling, and you're like, oh, okay. I was just thinking about that person, and now I have this, this feeling in my chest or in my heart area.
Mm.
and that's a confirmation. So it goes both ways. I believe that they are around us, and then they become more present at certain times in our lives. But if we want to connect with our loved ones, we need to be open to all the ways that we can connect. And it could be as something as, you go for a walk and you find a beautiful feather and you pick it up. It might be a little gift or a message from someone on the other side.
That has been one of the greatest gifts for me when I started really delving into personal development. It just opened my mind up, and my self-awareness has just been really expanding. And before, like you use the example of a feather, I would just think of it as a feather, but and I mentioned to you earlier, I hopped on a call yesterday, and I was the 111, so 111 person to hop on the call. So to me, that is a sign, because I always ask for a sign. And typically I say, my sign for me is the 111.
Right.
And I happen to see it quite often. So for me, that's a sign of reassurance. You're on the right path, Lou. Don't you're good.
Exactly.
Um, so does the spirit ever so I get it could be a sense of smell, like you said, a perfume, a cigarette, right? Sometimes someone with a heavy
Absolutely.
smoker, and you might just get a waft of tobacco.
Right.
Um, what about a physical thing? Like sometimes once in a blue moon, I'll hear about someone saying a book fell off the
Mhm.
bookshelf,
Yep,
right?
that can happen. Absolutely. So in spirit, they have lots of different ways to get our attention. And typically, if there's something like really bold like that, like a book falling off the shelf, it's something. It probably means that the person has been sending messages for a while, and the we here on Earth didn't quite pick them up, or we got them and we doubted them and said, no, that can't be right. That's too much of a coincidence.
Right.
That can't be right. We discount it, and then something more obvious kind of comes through. So definitely that's the case. I mean,
I
I
always get the heebie-jeebies when someone says,
yeah,
"The book came
right.
flying off the shelf."
It happens. It definitely happens. I've had some experiences myself and my clients as well. And like you said, the smells. I remember working with a client who, when I was connecting with, I didn't know who it was at the time. It turned out it was her grandmother, and I was like, I just keep getting this sweet smell. It's not perfume. It's like really sweet. And she said, oh my gosh, my grandmother used to eat Skittles all the time. So they get that smell, that sweet candy smell. And I was like, okay, then that's how she was, telling me this is who she is. And then we were able to connect with why she was there and what the message was. But, I think the key is, like you said, what you do is just ask for a sign. And really, for a lot of people, that's it, because you need to be aware, and you need to acknowledge the fact that you have intuition, that you are intuitive, and then say, okay, I acknowledge it, and now I'm open and I'm looking for a sign.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, so let me just switch over, if you will,
Mhm.
to our own intuition, to our own inner voice. Sometimes that's enough for me. I can't be bothered with the other voices. I got to just focus on my own. So, how do we know what our intuition is? Our own inner voice.
So there's a couple of things that I recommend to when you're getting information and you're not really sure, and I get those too, especially when I was, reopening to my intuition, and I'd be like, am I just making this up? Like, what is this? I've got this feeling or this sense of this knowing, and I don't know where it's coming from. So typically with practice, we do get validation, and that helps us get to know our intuition and trust our intuition, because it might be something that I know about the person, but I keep it to myself, and then later on they validate it. So that's one thing. That's a way that we do that. But really, in the beginning, what I say to people is pay attention to how the information has come to you. So for one thing, I typically see people who have received intuitive information when they're not thinking about it. They're
Mhm.
washing the dishes, they're doing the laundry, they're gardening, they're doing something totally different, not thinking about it, but they're in a, relaxed state, maybe not
Yeah.
meditating, but they're in a mindful state. And then all of a sudden they think about a friend that they haven't reached out to in a long time. And then they're like, maybe I'll send her an email or give her a call or send her a text. And so that's one way that intuition comes to us. The other way is actually the opposite. And that's repetitive things, repetitive signs, things that are coming through over and over and over again. Like you mentioned with the numbers. I spoke with a woman who had, was getting messages from her father who had passed on by, meeting someone who had the same name as him, seeing someone that looked like him, looking at the license plate and it was his birthday, all those things. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, when you get that repetitive message over and over again, then I'd say that's a sign. And then from there, you start with saying, oh, okay, now I'm going to, I can even record it and keep track of it and have a little notebook and say, okay, I've got all these signs. And then the validation comes. And then after the validation, you build the trust and you trust in yourself and your own intuition.
Yeah. So what we do is you had used the example of you thought of a friend. Maybe you haven't thought of that person in a while. And in order to start to practice what that feeling feels like when you got that, oh, she just popped into my mind, to actually reach out to the person and just say, hey, I know this sounds a little crazy, but you just popped up into my mind. By any chance, were you thinking of me these past whatever few days or past week? Just to see, right? So you can, and
Mhm.
if they say, "Oh my gosh, it's so funny because I was thinking of you,"
Right.
but that intuition, that voice is so subtle, and because we're on these things in the computer all day long, social media, et cetera, at work, everything, we're not really privy. We're not tuned into it, right? The
Right.
other thing you had mentioned, you're standing there washing the dishes. Oh, hopefully someone else is doing it for you, but no. But if you're just sitting there, so when I work with clients and they have this big goal, typically what stops them from even thinking about their big goal is their limiting beliefs, et cetera, but also the hows. They
Mhm.
don't know the how. So we always say, don't worry about the hows. Once you make a committed decision, the hows will start coming to you. And this is when you're standing there washing the dishes, and all of a sudden you get some sort of an idea to do something or call someone or go somewhere.
Right.
That to me is an intuitive download. You
Yes.
are getting direction from universal intelligence. Because I may not know the person on the other side of town, but for some
Right.
reason I've got this idea to go to the supermarket, right? I'm in there, my cart bumps into somebody, I apologize, we have this conversation, and poof.
Yep.
So always, be really try to be aware of those downloads and take action.
Yeah, we call it inspired action.
Inspired action.
Inspired action. It's like, I don't know why, but I feel like I have to stop at this coffee shop today on the way. And then it's like you meet someone, you have some interaction with someone. I mean, recently I had to go to drive a long way in all this rainy weather and everything for
Sure.
an appointment, and I was a little bit late, and I texted the person, said I'm going to be about 15 minutes late. But because I was late, I was able to interact with the next person coming in for the appointment and had a quick conversation with that person, which I wouldn't have had I been on time, because our we would not have met each other. So things like that, where it's like, taking the inspired action, you have this sudden urge to do something, then you do it because then it's important.
Yeah. And again, we don't know all the hows. So
Right.
we are being guided. And that's what those um, inspired downloads or take
Mhm.
inspired action means. And you must act upon them. So let me ask you this. How do we, because I know clients ask me this, how do we know when it's the right, you got this feeling? How do you know when it's the right thing to do, or is it a feeling saying, don't do it? Like sometimes you get this feeling and you want to do something, and then you get a feeling, oh, maybe I shouldn't.
Mm. I always go with how it feels. So we have our emotional guidance system within all of us. And if we're
Mhm.
paying attention to how it feels, does this feel light? Does it feel expansive? Does it feel like
Mm.
yes and open and exciting? And does it stir up my passion to do this right now? Then I would say yes, follow that guidance.
Yeah.
The other thing is, we talked about like you were saying, divine timing. Not everything needs to happen at once, and that's a good thing. Even though we might want something to happen right now, there might be other reasons that are beyond our awareness of the how, like the how and the why and the when. Is that when we're trying to do something and we keep getting the no, 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 no. I know a lot of people say, keep pushing through, even if you get no's, keep getting to a yes, keep getting to a yes. But really to think about, how does that feel? Is that no just a window closing so that another door opens?
Mhm.
Think about it that way too.
Yeah, we use when I work with clients, we talk about our mental faculties. And
Mhm.
our mental faculties, because we've never been taught, you had mentioned the five senses, and we all know about our five senses, but we don't know about our mental faculties, which is the imagination, the will, reason, perception, memory, and intuition.
Mhm.
So when you learn how to use those things, they're creative tools, because we think, we create. Everything else is an automatic process. You don't have to do anything else, really.
Right.
You are here to think and create. And that's why when you start really tuning into that, your intuition,
Mhm.
this is when you get the downloads. This is all the hows don't come at once,
Right.
but you get one download.
Mhm.
You act upon that, and then you'll get another download.
Right.
This is what makes the journey so fun, the unknown, the not knowing, and like the winging it, right? How many times
Right.
have we had people say, I have no idea, but I'm just going to wing it?
I'm just gonna do it. Try
Yeah,
it.
I'm just going to do it. You take the leap of faith, but these things, the hows, will come to you when you make a committed decision. Excuse me. So let me see my other question. You use your gifts and you connect with the spiritual side. How do you use your intuition to help your clients? And what types of things do you help your clients with? So we had mentioned earlier about anxiety and overwhelm or big life changes. Like, how do you help them with that?
Well, typically I'm working with the person over the phone, and that allows me to be able to work with people anywhere, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world.
Mm.
And it also allows the client to be comfy, cozy at home. You don't have to worry about, putting on makeup and getting to play the appointment on time or anything. You just
Blow drying your hair.
right, and doing your hair and everything. And it's a I do it in a way that's very easy and gentle and impactful for the person. So what I do typically when I get on the phone with them is ask them. They typically have something on their mind that they want, to start with. It could be something like issues in their career or relationship, or money, or moving their house, things like that, or anxiety, generalized anxiety. And then I just, like I said, tune into that person's energy field. I call in all of their guides, their higher self, angels that might be, anyone in the spirit world that might be there, available to help this person and to give me the messages that I need to give them. So basically what I do is I can see, like I said, I see colors, I see energy, I can see the person's energy field, I see past, and present, and sometimes future as well, but the future is always changing. So I always say, this is a potential, something that could happen in the future. I also tend to see past lives. If you're interested or you believe in reincarnation, I can see past lives as well. So
Wow.
taking all of that information, including what's going on with that person now, and saying, okay, what does that person need right now in this moment? Do they need just some information, some guidance, some reassurance? Do they need actual energy healing, energy clearing, to release, some of that stuff that's stuck around them? That energy that they haven't, the overthinking, and they haven't been able to get past something that's been going on. And so if we can release that, then the person right in that moment receives the energy. And then they also might get some homework after the call too, things to do to continue the healing work after the call. So they receive what they need in the moment, and then also over the long term as well.
So it's always a case by case.
Always, yes.
Yeah.
Every situation is different. Like I said, sometimes they ask about one thing, and where spirit leads us is someplace totally different that we didn't even, expect. We didn't know, but you never know. We might be having an issue that's really present in our life right now, but it could be connected to something that happened in our childhood, or just something somebody said to us. Like a teacher said something mean to you, or somebody in school that stuck with you that you didn't
Absolutely.
release, it still can affect you to this day.
So I may have asked this question, you may have answered this, but you mentioned it again, so it took me somewhere. Do we do we when we're here on Earth, do we have this crew of angels and guides that are helping us? See, in my mind, I think of one power, one spirit.
Mhm.
And that, because sometimes you say the word spirit, but then I hear angels and God, so I'm like, well, I get a little confused. Is it all the same, or are there angels and other types of beings or powers that are guiding us, or is it all just one?
So the way I describe it is it's both. I know, which doesn't make any sense, right? So I believe in the creator, God, right? God created the that one that the thought,
Everything.
intelligence, the consciousness, right? As
Yeah.
the consciousness that created us, our spirits, and our humanness, and also created angels, ascended, and all of the other beings. So
Okay.
we are, even though I believe that we are of the same energy, we take different form, just like humans do, right? We have all different types of people, all different ways that we look and we think, and we, different races and backgrounds and all these things, but we're all still humanity. That's the way I think of it. Is like there are animals too, all different kinds of animals, but they're still animals. That's the way I think of it. So to answer your question, I do believe that we all have a team. We have a team of angels, loved ones on the other side, maybe some of our ancestors who are with us all the time. And that's why I help people to connect with their own intuition, to connect with those beings on the other side to help us.
So cool. I just can't even imagine like being you, where you are receiving all these information and all these energy signals. I just can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming, but like I said, I've learned to manage it, and focus my energy. And I also have good boundaries. You have to have good energetic boundaries that you respect around yourself, so that you don't.
Do the spirits respect it?
Yes. Oh,
They
yes.
do.
Absolutely. We
Okay.
are always in
And
charge.
when you do this, they get it.
Yeah, yeah, that's one thing to know. Yeah, we are always in charge. We are not victims of spirit. If there's something that we don't want, we can take control from our own energy. We are the physical ones here, so we have that power to be able to control that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
For those of you that are on Facebook, I see a couple of people. If you have a question, just type it in and I will ask Leah. Um, so let's go over. So, one of your credentials is a sacred geometry specialist. What is that?
um, so sacred geometry is what I call the language of light. It's basically symbols, or sacred shapes is what I also call them, sacred shapes that have universal meaning. So we tend to think of sacred geometry as things like everywhere in our body. We think of Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man, right? The image of the human body with all of these shapes around it that all coexist at the same place in the same time. And sacred geometry is so powerful. It's like the order of the universe. It's the order of the planets and the orbits of the planets. It's our physical proportions of our human body. It's the scales of music. It's the sunflower seeds, the pattern of the sunflower seeds. So it's
Mm.
everywhere around us. It's really a subject that I don't think you can ever be a master in sacred geometry, because it's so vast. Like you could spend your whole life studying it and still not learn it. But it's in mathematics and everything. It's just amazing. So what I did was because I was getting all this information as I was developing and learning about sacred geometry, is I put together a workshop and a class which just teaches 7 basic shapes, shapes that are associated with the 7 chakras as well in the human body, and teach people how to, some really easy, simple ways to use these shapes either every single day or just when you need them. There are some things that I do, that I use every single day to clear my energy and to sort of refresh my energy. And then other things that I feel like I use only when I need them. But the important thing is that no matter what other modality you do, if you're doing Reiki or angel healing or whatever, that using these sacred geometry shapes makes everything you do more powerful and more clear. And that's because we're all made of it. We're all living it. We're all being it. It's the language of light, and we can embody it at the same time, and it's everywhere.
I mean, it's so complex. This is why you can never say no. This is why to be open minded,
Right.
because there's so many different things. So when you say these shapes and you use them, is this a physical thing? Is this like when people have crystals? Like, what do you mean, and how do you use it?
It could be, yeah, it could be physical shapes. You can get blocks. I have some like metal pieces that are in the 7 basic shapes. But really, it could be again just using your imagination and your intention. That's what makes it work. It could be something as simple as typically we think of as a sphere shape when we, just a ball of light that we bring through our bodies to clear our chakras. That's it. That's sacred geometry. That's it. It's a sphere shape. Or a cube shape or a box that we tend to think of as earth energy or grounding energy. That's it. You're using sacred geometry. So I think it scares people because they think it's going to involve intricate mathematics, and it could, but it doesn't need to. It certainly can be very practical and easy to use as well.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's get into you are an author and you
Yes.
wrote a book. What is the title and what is the book about?
So the title is called The Society of Sylphs, and Sylphs is spelled Sylph. And sylphs are elemental beings of the air. Typically, what we think of as maybe a gnome, that's an elemental being of the earth. We might be familiar with a gnome. But typically, what we think of as, oh, do you have it? Oh, there it is. The cute little gnome. Yep, he's very grounding energy, right? He's very, very helpful to keep around. So sylphs are typically energies, are elemental beings of the air. And so the story is about this human boy who is a young boy with autism who is also nonverbal. So you read his thoughts, his feelings, and the things he would say if he could speak verbally. And then the other main character is this sylph, this young sylph named Lorana, and her job is to learn how to deliver messages to humans because, like you said, with all of our distractions, it's hard to get a message through to humans sometimes. So what do they have to do? Maybe knock a book over on the floor, or maybe, come to them in a different way. So these two, the human boy and the sylph, have this interaction, and then they also solve a crime. So it's a very, it's a suspense, it's a thriller as well as a fantasy novel.
Oh, that sounds like fun. I like that one. Okay. I know that you are in the process of creating a retreat center, and I'm so excited and can't wait for this to happen. And you're going to be calling it the Apollo Sunrise Center. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So that has been a vision of mine for I don't even know how many years now. It's been so long, I don't even remember. But I've had this vision for years of owning and opening a wellness and spiritual retreat center where people can come and spend their day. They can take classes, they can learn about, yoga and movement, or they can learn things like, healing from trauma, meditation, mindfulness, art, things like art and art therapy and writing and all kinds of different, having all different instructors and all kinds of different classes happening at the same time. And that would be here in the Northeast area of Massachusetts. And so finally, I've been able to locate a place that we'll be opening next year, 2024. And the exciting thing is it's also going to be a horse farm. So we will be able to also incorporate equine therapy, which is so amazing and so healing. And so people can even incorporate that to getting to connect with the animal world and the horses that are so healing for us as humans as well. And talk about reducing anxiety. That is a really fast and easy way to do that, is just be around horses for a little while, because they will help you really calm your energy, slow your blood pressure down, lower your blood pressure, slow your heartbeat down, and really get you grounded again. So it's all going to be happening at once. And but I'm really excited about that. It's actually coming to fruition, coming to physical manifestation next year.
Yes, I'm so excited because, as I mentioned, we had talked earlier that my friends or clients are like, "Oh, I want you to do a retreat," and I was like, "I know,"
Yes.
but I think we could go to your place, your retreat center, and however we do it. But so I'm looking forward to that. Let me just ask you, because you mentioned the horses. Will there be? Is it just for therapy, or will there be horseback riding?
There will be some writing.
Oh,
There
even
will be some.
better.
Yes,
Oh
definitely.
my gosh, this is like
So
all my dreams coming true. Awesome.
right. So really anybody who's an, an instructor, retreat leader, teacher can come and they'll just need to fill out a quick form and be able to teach there of lots of different modalities. And that's really what it's about is, I'll be teaching there and doing my healing work as well, but I can't do everything. So
Well,
opening it up to
I
a
plan on
community.
coming and teaching as well. So
Great, thank
I'm
you.
really looking forward to it. So as we start wrapping up, I know you have a couple of events coming up, so I just wanted to touch upon those. If anyone is interested, because I didn't know how to share my screen, I was nervous about technology. So if you want, I can post the flyers in the Facebook group, and you can and look at those. But da 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 da. The first one is called Unlock Your Intuition and Live Your Best Life. And that will be held on Sunday, September 24th. So another week or so, right? A couple of weeks from 3 to 4:30. And that will be at the Purple Door Yoga Studio.
Right.
And okay, and that's located at 10 Colonial Road in Salem, Mass. And the other you just touched upon is Finding Solace. That's the name of it.
Mhm.
And it's a holistic healing and equine assisted retreat for grieving held on Sunday, October 1st from 9 to 3 at Ascot Riding Center at 121 Argilla Road, Ipswich, Mass.
Yep,
Right?
you got it.
So can you just give us a little bit of information on both? We'll start with the first one, unlock your
Sure.
intuition and live your best life.
Yeah, so Unlock Your Intuition and Live Your Best Life is going to be an expanded, in depth version of kind of everything we talked about today. It's about starting with the belief that you are intuitive, you do have these abilities, and you just need to open up and be aware of them. So, what we're going to do in that time is learn, I'll be sharing lots of quick and easy tools, practices, techniques. Things that people can do right away. So when they leave there, they'll have lots of things to practice and to work through to develop their own intuition and to start that journey of their own. So it'll help them with making the best decisions for themselves, especially in everyday life, as well as the big decisions, dealing with things like procrastination and stress and really having attracting abundance. Really having that feeling of I'm intending this, I'm open to my intuition and being
Mhm.
able to receive the benefits from it.
Okay, I'm going to try to get to that. I told
Oh,
you I was going to
awesome.
try to get to it. I am heading out of town, so but I'm going to do my best.
Wonderful.
Okay, so what about finding solace? This is what
Oh,
oh,
so yeah, finding solace is going to be a sacred day. So this is specifically for people who are in the grief process, in the grieving process. It doesn't matter what you're grieving. It could be a loved one, it could be a pet, it could be the loss of a job or a career, it could be anything. But no matter where you are in that grieving process, we will be working on the ground with the horses. So it won't be include riding, horseback riding that day, but it'll be working on the ground with the horses, with certified trauma specialists and mental health specialists who work with horses all the time. And then
mm,
I'll be doing a piece of it to do guided meditations to release the energy of the guilt and of the grief. And then another practitioner will be doing lots of like receiving energy, of taking it to the receiving. Once you've released that grief energy that's been, holding you back and moving through it, now you can receive and be open to what's next, to start the next steps after grieving. Because as we know, we can get stuck in so many different parts of grieving that really sometimes it takes others, a community, or being able to share or experience something like this in order to move through it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful. So again, if you are interested, I will try to do, I'll do my best to post them on the Facebook group, and if I'm able, maybe on LinkedIn. Um, so again, as we wrap up, do you have any last words of wisdom or tips or suggestions that you want to leave with our attendees?
I would say just take the first step and set the intention that if you want to develop your own intuition, just say, I'm going to do it, and I'm open to all the different ways that the help and the support can come to me. And that would be my first thing, is take that first step and do it.
It's like this new thing I've been saying is the mind is like a parachute, right? It
Right.
works best when it's open.
And
So
yes.
be open to new information, learning something new. And if you keep doing the same old thing over and over, you're going to keep getting the same old results. So be open to learning something new. Well, thank you, Leah, for enlightening our viewers, and thank you, everyone, for attending. I am grateful you could be here with us, whether it was live or if you're catching the replay. If you have questions for Leah or for myself, you can reach us at, for me, you can reach me at Lu, at prosperousresults.com. That's my email, or you can DM me. And for Leah, her website is www.leah, Leahm, as in Mary, Hill, Hill.com. Right? Did I
That's
say
it.
that right? Okay, perfect. And again, thank you all very much.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure if you have questions, you can again shoot me a DM, and I can reach out to Leah, and somehow you guys can connect. All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lou. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Let me just end this. Okay. And